It's a bit fast, but we are now at 7 o'clock, so can I welcome you all to the Parish Council meeting. Please be aware that the meeting may be recorded. As you know, we've got security CCTV, and a gentleman at the back in attendance has his body cam. The relevant police inspector advised us that this is to ensure everyone is aware of Section 1 of the Public Meeting Act. Just so you're aware, any person who at a lawful public meeting acts in a disorderly manner for the purpose of preventing the transaction of the business for which the meeting was called together shall be guilty of an offence. Any person who incites others to commit offence under this section shall be guilty of a like offence. Councillors are not exempt. So at that point, so you're aware, that is the meeting duly open.
So you're all in charge.
Right, I just got a statement to make you aware of. You will be aware of the numerous social media posts making vague accusations against the council and its officers. People claim to have seen both sides of the story. The document on your seat, and we'll make it available online, is the first and to date the only statement the Parish Council has made about these accusations. Should you have any concerns, I would recommend you read the Council's policies, procedures, standing orders and code of conduct. These are all available online and explain your means of redress. Please note that anonymous complaints are not accepted. We'll now go to the item 3 on the agenda, which is the public participation. I have to say, if there are several people with the same question, please nominate one person to speak on your behalf. And please be aware that some subjects may be confidential for legal reasons, and some answers may require investigation in order for us to answer correctly. If this is the case, please note your name and contact details on the document at the front on your way out, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. It's just over there with a pen, just one corner of the table there. So, public participation. Any questions?
Thanks, clarification on that. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I did see a video of that particular meeting at the start of the meeting. There was a question raised at the start. I'm just asking for a point of clarification on that. The question was whether a 3-day notice had been given for that meeting, and I seem to get the impression from that meeting that the notice had been given late. Can you clarify whether the notice was given in time or whether it wasn't that late?
It was given on time. It was posted on the Thursday on the notice board and also on the website.
Can I just say, as a point of order, Chair,
could you ask, put your hand up if you want to?
I can interrupt on the point of order. It's in our
You have
standing
to
orders.
raise your hand.
On the internet, it was put on the internet as a meeting that was going to take place in 2024, not 2023. So it was put online incorrectly. It was also hidden amongst the agendas, and also it was on the notice board late.
It was on the notice board on the Thursday morning. These were our standing orders. It was at the top of the list of agendas. They just go in a chronological order.
Also, it was not a legal order, not a legal meeting, because of the items that were raised at the last meeting and have been minuted incorrectly. But I'm quite prepared to wait until we get to that point in the minutes.
Thank you. And just for clarity, this has been answered before, but everything was correct. Steps were taken to make sure they were correct. If you have any concerns, all you have to do is follow the procedure and contact the monitoring officer.
Incorrect. Incorrect.
Do you have any other questions? Councillor Gale, will you sit down, please?
I'm just putting that piece of paper there so people can see that it's incorrect.
Any more questions, please?
Can I just ask a question to the clerk?
Of course.
I just wondered if you could tell us how you came to hear about North Orsby needing a parish clerk, seeing as you live so far away.
Of course, with permission of the chair. I have been a clerk for a few councils, and I was curiously looking at advertisements, and I was also looking at the clerking forum, of which I am, and I noticed that someone had placed things on the clerking forum, unfortunately stating quite horrendous things about North Orsby. I was curious why someone would post such a thing, and it was my curiosity that led me to combine the two. When I did my due diligence, I realised that the unfortunate allegations that that person was making was probably of their own making. I then felt that this is a council that had been treated appallingly by previous persons associated, and I thought, from my skill set of dealing with councils on an unfortunate state, that I could help as a qualified accountant, a qualified clerk, that I could come and help. I then applied, and I was then offered the role. The reason why I travelled so far is that it was a council with the hours that fitted what I wanted. So those are the two things that made it. But it was the actual allegations that someone had made that actually attracted me towards North Orsby, because I thought the language that that person used was quite appalling, talking about current councillors, and that actually attracted me because it was clearly they had a motive what they were saying. Thank you.
I can just add to that as well, because I've seen questions asked about the distance that Mr. Baxter travels. Before we interviewed him, I contacted LOUT, which is the local association of councils that we were a member of at the time, and asked about this. And I was told that because there is such a shortage of clerks, there is actually two councils, parish councils in Lincolnshire, who's got a clerk in America. This is because it's the wife of a serviceman, and she got posted overseas. She dropped one council because she can do it from a distance. So there's actually two parish councils in Lincolnshire who've got their clerk living in America at the moment. So it's not.
Well, I take it they weren't appointed when they were in America. They were appointed while they were still here.
I never pursued it any further. That's just what I was to say. They were the people I asked.
Just seems strange, that's all.
Yeah, it's as I said, there is a real shortage of clerks. It's a big shortage.
And I would assume that their fees would be less than this gentleman's, only coming from Holland.
Could you actually ask, if you want to ask a question, do it, yeah. Could you indicate? Yeah.
I assume then that the lady who's in America actually charges less per hour than what this gentleman does coming over from Hull.
That's rather an obscure question. How on earth are we going to know what the person
Well, we'll do a bit of digging and find out then.
You don't know really what this person's being charged. That is rather a strange question to ask.
Well, it's all down to costs and what I can gather it's about fees.
I assume that the enumeration is in line with the national scale of
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely in line, yeah.
Thank you.
And can I just mention about the controversy that seemed to be about the mileage expenses?
Yeah.
As far as I know, whenever I claim mileage, I never have to say what sort of car I've got or what sort of fuel I've got. It's a standard 45p.
That's true, yeah. It
So,
is,
I wasn't quite sure what the difference was, whether you had a Rolls Royce and you were getting 10 miles to the gallon or whatever.
With the chair's permission, I can confirm it's HMRC approved rate, which is 45p per mile, irrespective of the type of car.
Yeah, gentleman at the back. Yeah.
I have a question here. I came to the I came to the tabletop sale on Saturday, and I was offered a leaflet, and I think a lot of people have seen it. It was handed out by Councillor Gale, which had a lot of things on it, some true, some not true. I want to know the right of a single councillor that can hand out this, because at the end, it says we, so I don't know what sort of group she's supporting. We are asking for your support to attend the next parish council meeting on Monday, November 13th at 7 p.m. to show a vote of no confidence in the parish council and its clerk. I would like to ask if you can ask through Councillor Gale why she's done this and who her little group are.
the code of conduct does state that you're not allowed to do that. The councillor cannot make a statement on behalf of the council. A single councillor cannot do it.
I have not made a statement on behalf of the council, be clear.
The forms that she was handing out are being answered in the documents that we made available. I don't think we made enough available, but we will be making it available online. It does respond to those item by item.
And if I can be allowed to say that I was not responsible for creating that leaflet. I had it was on my tabletop. I have not created that leaflet. My name is mentioned in it, and it was to encourage people to come to the meeting to look at all things that are going on within the parish council. I did not create that leaflet.
I'm sorry, you're clearly aware of them and handing them out to everybody.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
So, it makes no odds whether you created it or not.
It makes every difference. I didn't create it. I am not allowed to make a statement on behalf of the parish council in my own right.
Did you have them out?
Yes,
Did you have the authority to hand them out?
So,
I gave them out.
Did you have the authority?
just to follow up that, and I know that, I'm sure I know this is true, there's been an awful lot of on social media, which some of it is disgusting, showing buckets and God knows what.
Yeah.
And I know certainly one individual, I don't think he's here tonight, but the guy is disgusting in his attitude and the way he goes, and I think he knows who he is. But I think you've got your own code of conduct there that you have not replied to any of this.
That's correct, yes.
And that's why I can't understand why a certain councillor here has been replying and telling a lot of untruths and trying to get people in this village to support this group, this action group, to try and pull the council down. When they hadn't had before, they resigned well before all this happened. I mean, they're even accusing of people stepping in and getting them out. And I think it's totally disgusting. I've talked to a lot of people, and I think quite a few are here tonight. They're totally disgusted what's going on, because you group of people have stood in since they resigned, and they ought to just clear off and do it.
May I respond?
Can I just say, picking up on that point about that whole the witch hunting and coming in purposely to take over, my name has been specifically mentioned, along with some other people in this room, that I joined the council, I kicked them off, or it was a witch hunt. That's absolutely everything you read on there is a total lie. The person in this room, and I'm not going to mention names, who I'm meant to have been in cahoots with, I think I've only ever had 3 or 4 conversations with this person, and at no point have I ever had a conversation about the parish council. So I'd like to refute that completely. I'd also like to say that my husband has been accused of videoing a certain person on a particular day at the village hall. My husband has never been at the village hall on that day. He was at work on that day, and I have proof. We can get proof from his employer that he was not in the village hall on that day. And those are 2 particular things where my name's been mentioned, and I want to state it, because obviously working within the village, my reputation and what people think about me is important. So I want to put that out there, that that's absolute lies. Thank you.
Is that also true when you talk to people and hold them trumps?
Councillor Gale, through the chair, please.
Okay. Please, may I respond to the gentleman's question? What has happened is I have no past history with the previous people who used to administer this committee, or even the ones that are on now. I came in new as a councillor in May. I was supported in that process by the chair, because basically people coming onto the council, it's hard to get people to be interested to be on the council. When I started the role, going back to the gentleman's original question about what's on the leaflet, I haven't been involved in the construction of that leaflet. The things that I know about within that leaflet are true. I took on the clerk with the HR committee in June in all good faith, and I hope that it would be a good thing for the community. However, since then,
Speed up, please, Councillor Gale.
I'll talk as fast as I can. Since then, I have certain information has come to light. I have researched it in great depth throughout, inside the village, activities outside the village, and other councils. Young lady here asked about the
Councillor
other
Gale,
councils.
Councillor Gale, I think you've gone on long enough. You've
I'm
made
sorry,
your
this
point,
young
you're
lady has-
labouring your point. Could we get back to the case in hand? This gentleman asked, and this gentleman
Fine.
pointed out, did you hand the leaflets out?
I handed the leaflets out
Right.
with good cause,
So,
and I will be happy to share whatever information with any one of you at any time, which is why I am causing a rumpus.
yeah.
I hope you want that. Will you,
Can you please,
say
no,
that every
Councillor
meeting,
Gale,
please?
you have used up your time.
But will it
We
be
are
limited,
moving on.
please?
Has anybody else got any questions?
Can I just ask who? I've never been to the meeting. You've got your cards up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've lost some,
I
I'm
don't,
sorry.
I don't know who you are. So could you just say
My
who you
name's
were?
Vicky Marshall.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you haven't got a.
No.
Yeah,
We did have name cards for all, but
Yeah, I can see
unfortunately,
everybody's there, but.
I can go. I can introduce all councillors if you so wish.
It would be because I can see
Yeah.
everybody's there, but
We
I
have
can't see
Councillor
anybody.
Spence. I'm the clerk and the proper officer, Simon Lake. So we've got the Councillor Spence. We have Councillor Berryman, Councillor Marshall, Councillor Bookham, who's the chair. We've got Councillor Gow, who's the vice chair. We've got Councillor Snell, got Councillor Howard, and then we have Councillor Gale on the end. We did have all name cards, but unfortunately some have been misplaced. They will be returned.
Yeah, just with having to defend myself, I
Of
just needed
course.
to know who,
Yeah.
who it was.
Any other questions, please?
I've got a few questions, and I'd like to direct these to Councillor Marshall. I understand you're the head of the
Sorry,
finance.
can I? No, I'm sorry. Questions have to go through the chair. That is the procedure.
Right, okay, that's not a problem. Firstly, I notice, I've had a quick scan through your budgets, and I noticed that the BT contract comes to an end this month. Have you served notice for the broadband?
Well, this really is not a no.
You can answer questions.
Yeah.
Okay, quick question
What
then.
is the situation? So we were looking at, we've got it on, we've got it on this agenda, we're looking at
vote.
So just bear with me.
Sorry?
This way, no way.
Oh,
Right, okay. And that's actually item 19 on the agenda, so we'll answer it then.
right, okay, next one. I note on the budget as well, you're spending 90p a kilowatt for electricity for this place.
Alright, these are, if you've got more questions like this, asking for detailed financial questions, could you please write them down on the sheet? Because we obviously don't have this at our fingertips. We'll
Right.
then
Yeah, no,
leave your
I
contact
appreciate that.
details and we'll
Sorry,
get back to
sorry,
you.
Chair. As finance, I will record that and note that you brought that up. We are going through things slowly and working out how we can cut costs in various areas. Unfortunately, some of that has had to be stalled because I've been very, very poorly. I was in hospital for quite a long time, so I am behind schedule with some of that, but we are working our way through it and dealing with things to cut costs as much as possible, and that's ongoing. I'm sure you can appreciate that as volunteers, this is not, I have a full-time job, and so this fits around that, and then obviously being poorly, we are slightly off track. I had to cancel a meeting and so on, but I will note that that's something that you've brought as a concern, and we'll certainly add that onto our next finance meeting in December.
Can I also just to let you know, I think you're looking at installing a landline, a telephone line.
Yeah.
If you go to Internet, they will give you that for free. They won't charge you at all for it. One other question, I noticed that all councillors' email addresses are no longer on the website, despite what it says in the parish magazine, that all email addresses have been removed.
Questions of, sorry, I can answer that. Questions of email addresses.
Sorry,
we would-
that wasn't a question.
Oh, sorry, it's a state. Well, in that case,
If you'd let me finish up, thank you very much. On 2 occasions, I've needed to contact various parish councillors. On one occasion, I needed to contact yourself, Councillor Buckingham. So, as per the directive, I contacted the clerk, got an immediate response that he was away on holiday, on annual leave, giving me your email address.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect, fine.
Yeah.
Within 30 seconds of me receiving the automatic email, I then received an email from the clerk, who was on holiday at the time, basically saying, thank you for your email, may I ask what the communication is about? It's almost as though our communications with the councillors are being monitored.
Sorry, this is going on a little bit long. Can I just... So you're complaining that the clerk who's on holiday actually answered you while he was on holiday?
That's not what I said. That is not what I said.
It's not a straightforward communication that you have to go through.
It is standard practice for most parish councils to have all communication through the clerk. I think if you look at Holtby Clay, Tealby, Nettleton, Tetney, a lot of the surrounding villages, everything is contactable through the clerk, and it is standard practice.
If you look at Tealby, you'll find that everything has to go through their clerk, and even the mail address
Can I ask one last question then?
They've got no other way of contacting.
One last question then. In September, obviously you've put in a lot of work on our clerk. He's having to answer all emails. I mean, the new agendas and minutes that he's doing have pages and pages of it. Can I ask, how much overtime is the clerk claiming? In the previous administration, at the end of it, it used to state how many hours overtime the clerk was claiming. Can you tell us in September how much overtime the clerk claimed?
I can, but we'll have to get back to that one. I do have that recorded, but I don't have that with me. But I can get back to you on that one if we've got your email address.
Yeah, I'll give you it before I put it on the sheet so you can email that to me.
And I can also tell you that the clerk actually proposed for us, because of the amount of extra work that was being done, because we're getting a lot of vexatious emails, etc., freedom of information requests, a lot of stuff, that his standard hours be increased. We weren't paying so much overtime, and then we're actually, next month, we're going back to review it, then next month we're going to go back down, drop it down again. Effectively, the clerk has suggested that we pay him less money, basically. Workers we pay less money.
Right, okay. So obviously that will be made public then, the
as
amount
far
of...
as we can do it.
Yeah,
some things obviously we can't, some financial matters we can't.
Obviously, but obviously the number of hours worked, that can be made public.
Absolutely, we can, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So one more question then.
No, just one more question. I didn't intend to speak at tonight's meeting, but I'd just like clarification about members of the public recording either audibly or visually when members of the public are speaking. I can understand, and I understand that it's lawful for them to film the parish council, but I also have read somewhere that if a member of the public asks for that not to be recorded either visually or audibly, the chair can stop the recording of the member of the public recording it, because it is stopping people coming to these meetings.
I'm not sure.
As far as I'm aware, unfortunately, someone can record a legal meeting. The one thing that you can ask not to be is either named or have your image taken audibly, but I will certainly do more legal research in regards to that. If you can provide them with the reference, I will most happily look at that.
I'll just take a screenshot of the...
Yeah, I would happily, because it's something that a few people have actually asked, because they are...
It's definitely stopping people coming to these meetings speaking. It's an absolute disgrace. And I'll just say one more thing. The word around the village, and I'm just an ordinary villager, I haven't been planted by anybody, for whoever's recording me, that people are saying that the so-called group that is trying to bring this council down is saying that they're going to keep going until they get rid of this lot. So I don't know who they're trying to damage, but the people they're damaging, including a councillor, is trying to damage the villages of this parish, of which I'm one. Thank you.
Okay, that's we're out of time there, but thank you very much. We'll move on to item 4. This is the Proposal to exclude members of the public from participation. That means you just obviously still say it and watch and observe, but you can't actually participate.
We need a proposal in the second.
Yeah.
Proposed seconder, can I have a vote, please, councillors? Councillor Gelly, you're abstaining, you're voting against?
For.
Okay, unanimous. Just for members of the public, you are entitled to stay here and watch. You can ask questions only with the chair's permission if it is about the agenda point. But certainly it's now for council business, but you can certainly stay and watch and ask anything with the chair's permission. Over to you, Chair.
Yeah, so item 5, apologies for absence from any councillors.
We've had an apology from Councillor Jones. Unfortunately, she's not available. She has given me the reason. I think it's a legitimate reason. Councillors are aware that I have sent an email around to safe emails that they're aware of it. I think it is a legitimate reason, but obviously it's up to the council to approve whether it is a legitimate reason or not. Is there a motion to accept her proposal? Thank you. Seconder, thank you. Is that a vote, please, councillors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. So Councillor Jones, her reason is accepted for her absence. Thank you.
Item 6, declarations of pecuniary interest.
Chair, I've had nothing sent to me for this meeting in regard to pecuniary interests or any other interests. Is there anything that councillors wish to say to me now? Or ask for dispensation?
I'd like to ask a general question, please, because I just don't quite understand.
Is this about the pecuniary or?
It's about declarations of interest.
Okay.
We all as councillors have to declare interest if something's going on. Does the clerk have the same responsibility to declare an interest?
No.
He doesn't. So if something's going on and the clerk's brother was involved, he doesn't have to say he's got an interest.
The clerk hasn't got a vote, so it doesn't make a difference.
He hasn't got a vote, but he can influence situations.
I don't think I have the influence of councillors.
At the end of the day, it's just by.
Okay, but the clerk can give advice.
If we request it, yeah.
Right. Okay, but he doesn't have to declare an interest. Okay, thank you.
I would say that please do not bring my family members into this, Councillor Gale.
I've got no idea what your family is.
You
It's
just
a
mentioned my brother.
It's a hypothetical situation.
You didn't say that.
I've got no idea that you've got.
Thank you, Councillor Gale. Thank you. Okay, minutes of last two parish council meeting. 3 10.
Can I just say, no, they don't match the recording of the meeting at all. There's big chunks mixed out of the meeting. I happened to be away on the 2nd of October, but I listened with great intent to the recording of the meeting, and I compared it against the minutes that have been documented. There's things that's missing, and there's things that have been added in.
Have you listened to those things?
No, at the time I suggested that somebody go back and listen to it.
Councillor Gale, if you list things, then raise the items in the correct manner. Okay? We will actually note that your view on the minutes.
Yes. As a proposal.
Yes.
Sorry, I've got a point that
Yeah, of course.
for the tractor run.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the point.
That was from the draft minutes that went up.
That was from the draft minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've sent a correction of what it should be.
The correction has gone on the website.
Right, okay. Do I need to read that out, or do I need to?
No, they have gone on the website because of the words used and everything. That was because of various issues. But yeah, thank you, Councillor Howard. To be honest, that was very appreciative of that.
That's okay. So that was point.
Whichever one it was, I just noted it as chapter.
Yeah.
Is there a proposal tonight?
Proposed to accept.
Yeah. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Is there a vote? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there any against, or are you abstaining?
No, I'm voting against the minutes.
Okay,
I would
thank
like
you.
to point out to all councillors that these minutes could be seen as lies. So
Councillor,
just
we've
be aware
noticed
that you are
voted against.
responsible, not the clerk. If it comes back and hits us, it's not the clerk.
Councillor, you've made your
It's
point.
the councillors.
Please respect the chair. Right, report the closed session of the last formal parish council meeting.
Yes.
I say I've not been given a copy of the report. I've asked for one several times, but I've not been given a copy of the report, so I cannot.
Chair, I would like to say that all councillors with a safe email address as per our policy were sent a copy of these by email to make sure they were secure, to make sure they weren't leaked as a hard copy. So all councillors with a safe email address, according to our policy, have received a copy.
Can I say as part of our standing orders,
any
we also
councillors that did not
making
receive,
paper copies be available to people as per our standing orders.
so if councillors with what's called an unsafe email address has not received them because their email address is considered unsafe.
And you have made a consideration of an unsafe email on something that does not make sense, based on the recovery email being
This
your own.
policy was agreed, Chair, so
This
we
was
can't go.
agreed, yes.
The policy was agreed
Councillor Gale, you
by
are out
somebody.
of order.
The policy was agreed and created by somebody who does not have an
Chair, can we
understanding
have
of
a,
IT
can we have a vote for the report, please?
I think so, yeah.
Can we have a proposer?
Yeah, I'll propose it.
Can we have a seconder, please, councillors?
No, sorry.
Yes, thank you. Can we have a vote on the report? Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4.
No.
Are you voting?
I'm voting no
against?
because I haven't had a copy of the report.
Okay, so you're
It's
voting
been
against.
restricted from me.
7, 4, 1 against.
Okay. Minutes of the full parish council meeting, full of the parish council EOM on the 24th of October. Agree the minutes are correct?
These were the EOM of
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. something
Yeah,
like that.
24th, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I say that the EOM meeting was not a legal meeting? As was stated on the night, which is a point of order, the meeting was on the agenda. It says that
Councillor Gale, if you wish to say that it was not lawful or whatever you like to say, then please contact the monitoring officer and report it there. You did not raise it here. Follow the proper procedure.
but you're asking.
Right, no, you're telling us that meeting.
You were asking to.
Can we have a motion to propose, please?
Okay, yeah. Vote, accept the minutes of the parish council EOM on 24th of October.
Thank you. Is there a second, councillors? Thank you. Is there a vote, please, councillors? Councillor Gale, are you abstaining or are you voting against?
The minutes are.
It's either yes or it's either abstaining.
Okay.
And the reason I'm abstaining
Are
is
you-
because it's illegal. I am saying no because it was an
Thank you.
illegal
So
meeting.
you're voting against. Thank you. That's all I need to know.
Right, closed session.
Yes.
Of the EOM, item 10. Agree the minutes of the closed session.
I've not seen the minutes of the closed session. I've seen a draft, but I haven't seen the final copy of the minutes. And what's more, at the time you stated we spent some time saying whether an informal session or a formal session, and you said it was an informal session, so consequently it doesn't need minutes.
That's right. We'll just get. These were sent out to councillors with a safe email address.
You have
Chair,
designated my email unsafe for a
as the policy
stupid
chair, is
reason.
there a proposal?
And the
to
policy
accept
is
that?
out of order and not
Is there a
correct.
seconder? Thank you. Is there a vote to accept the EOM closed session? Councillor Snell, are you? Sorry, no, apologies. So 7-4. Councillor Gale, are you voting against, may I ask, or you're abstaining?
I am voting against
Okay,
because
that's
it
all I
was
need
an
to know. Thank
informal
you.
meeting that should not have
Right,
been
item
minutes
12.
as per the chair said
Item
at
11.
the
Oh,
time.
sorry, item 11. Oh, sorry, the finance committee.
Yeah,
3
finance.
minutes are accurate and update on the clerk.
Yes, the finance meeting happened on the 2nd of October, which seems a lifetime ago now. And that was the first meeting of the finance committee under the stewardship and chair of Councillor Marshall. There was various items and discussed there. The minutes have been passed primarily to do making sure that banking is safe, and they were happy with that. And to making sure that everything spent is scrutinised. Transparency, accountability, and value for money, I think, is making sure that will. I have a further update later on. The minutes went out to all councillors with a safe email address. If there's no comments, is there any comments?
In terms of all of the talk about the finances and everything, and in terms of transparency, are we? Is there such a thing as a log sheet on what the clerk is doing and how he's spending his time? and also the other
These are not the
people,
finance minutes, Chair.
the other people that
So
he's
these
talking
are not the
to.
finance minutes. Can I have a proposal to accept the finance minutes? Can I second it? Thank you. Vote please, councillors. Councillor Gale, are you voting against, may I ask?
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, thank you.
Right, item 12, anti-fraud and corruption policy. Right, when we started looking at back records, there were a lot of irregularities, and we decided.
I think he's the chair of the finance, Chair. I'd recommend that.
Who wants to find?
Councillor Marshall is chair of the finance.
No, you.
So we, on the back of some training that I had, I was offered finance training for chair of finance for councils. I took that, and from that training, I got a list of recommendations and things that we could change to make sure that our bank accounts, our accounts, and the way we're working are safeguarded against fraud, and making sure that our money is safe and that it's spent 100% wisely and the best that we possibly can. I'm confident going forward that we're going to be able to do that. So from that, we looked at previous banking, how it's been handled, in the past, and we looked at whether it met those suggestions. So things like that we changed are things like looking at the fact that we have got second signatories, that no payment can be made by our clerk without at least 2 councillors on the finance committee approving that. So no payment can be made without our consent. That things like if anything should happen to the clerk, that we have got safeguarded access to the bank account, and that the right people hold that security key so that we can actually never be in a situation where we can't access that. There were lots of little things that would change, but it was all about making sure that our accounts, the money coming into us, your money, your precept, is safe, and that we are spending as wisely as we possibly can. And I believe that this policy and some of the things that we've got planned address that. However, I just want to make it clear that if there is any resident who feels that actually there's something we could be doing better, so for example, I'm going to call him Mr. Internet, sorry I don't know your name, Mr. Internety has been, with your whole input about the BT and that, brilliant, I want to hear it. If you know somebody who can do something for us as a community cheaper, that can save us money, or anyone who might volunteer something, great, come and tell me about it, email the clerk and he'll forward it on, because we're all about transparency, keeping it safe and trying to make sure that every penny is spent as wisely as possible. And if I missed anything off that little list, no, I've had a long day. Yes, there we go.
Is there, councillors, may I ask for any comments, or can we go for a motion to accept? Proposer, thank you. Seconder, yes, thank you. Yes, then we can, and a vote please, councillors? Unanimous. So this policy, once reformatted, with other words, drafts will be put on the website, hopefully within about a week. But it is certainly a very, very useful policy, and will solve a lot of the problems that the council have found. Thank you, Chair.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Councillor Marshall. Item 13, updates from the clerk.
Thank you, Chair. Few to go through. I'll go through just to carry on what Councillor Marshall has said. All the financials now are published on our website. They are published generally on a quarterly basis, although I might make a recommendation to change it to a monthly basis. This is to make sure that people can see what their money is being spent on. There is some degree we have to be careful of confidentiality, but on the whole, everything that we have, we spend and we use and we forecast is for the community to see, and it is on the website. This is something that the previous Administration Council did not do, and following Councillor Marshall in regard to we are transparent. Issue of the road signs, this was brought up last meeting, in regard to various speed signs that were that trees were covering. I've been in contact with Highways multiple times. they said that they were going to look at it, and unfortunately it's a bigger job than they first thought, because there's going to be a lot of trees and bushes and hedges that are going to have to be put back. So they did say it's far more complicated and it is going to cost more money than they first thought, but it is on their to-do list and their jobs list, and it will be undertaken once they can, and provided updates on a regular basis, and if they don't, I certainly chase them. In regard to minutes now, we have started to distribute minutes not only on our website, but there are at the local Morrison store. They're available, as you can see in front of you. Certainly people that come to Thursday luncheon clubs or drop-in or social, they are given there, and we will be displaying them on various notice boards. Obviously there is a lot of pages of them, because there's a lot of discussion, and people have thanked to say that it gives a detail of what was actually talked about and when and how. And for people that can't attend, they were very grateful for that. All the policies recently that were approved at the last meeting, including the email policy, the security and key policy, the code of conduct, again, they have all been uploaded onto the website for the community to see how councillors should act and in what code of conduct, and for instance their email policy. In regard,
I have a question about the email
it's
policy.
all right. I would like to finish, please, Councillor Gown. The tree survey report. This was asked. I received an email again, just asking how it's going. It was approved at the last meeting that we're having a tree surveyor come in and assess not only the trees out there, but on the Memorial Garden and the play park as well. There has been a slight delay with the tree surveyor and the amount of work, partly due to the recent wind and the amount of work, but we are hoping it should be completed in December, so the councillors can be fully aware of the state of the trees. Most of them have tree protection orders on in regard to that. In regard to the Christmas function that is being organised by this council, we have had a tremendous amount of requests from the community groups asking for tables and asking for the event and what they can do, what they can bring to it. We've had various groups, certainly not just from the area either, that are all think it's a wonderful idea and want to join in the Christmas function. And I would state that that Christmas function is at absolute no cost whatsoever to the community in regard to that. Telephone access to the hall, obviously a member of the community mentioned it. We are again looking at what is the best way forward to make sure if there's a power cut we still have access. And we are either looking at either a Wi-Fi phone, a landline through interneting, or using a normal pay-as-you-go mobile phone. There is a few ideas that I wish to sit down and speak to the HR and facilities and committee about that, to find out what's the best way forward. But certainly I would welcome any member of the community if they have an idea of that. One thing what we are trying to do is to make sure that if there is a local emergency, that people have a way of contacting the parish council. Some communities have experienced tremendous flooding throughout the country, and we do need an emergency number, as well as if you simply want to book the village hall. So that is being looked at, but we're trying to make sure we do that obviously as cheap as possible, but value for money as well. Playground safety report. Our wonderful village hall manager has undertaken quite a lot of the work that's actually recommended on that. He has had help from the local community, of which I sincerely thank. We are now compiling the few areas where a specialist will be needed, and that will be asked for them to come in. We are hoping for December, but it might be January in regard to that, because there's some areas that our village hall manager is as capable and as brilliant as he is. There are some that we actually need specialists for. In regard to the fencing, obviously that is an agenda point later on. I did speak to or ask for various contractors to come and quote, just to make sure that the council could have as much information as possible, and I have some information in regard to that when the agenda point comes up. Just to confirm that most Thursday lunches that Councillor Howard arranges and is involved with, I've attended most of them, and I've thoroughly enjoyed meeting the local community. The people have been incredibly supportive, very thankful, and I enjoyed them asking me questions. I'm here to be asked for, and some people would prefer it in an informal setting. and again I thank them for their time, and certainly the polite nature of which they asked. The final area is the defibrillator machine outside the front door, and the recommendation. We unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago I believe, there was an emergency in the community and a defib machine was actually needed. Unfortunately, our machine has been out of operation. I have been in contact, or tried to contact, the distributor and the supplier of the defib machine. Unfortunately, we have found out it's been a discontinued model, and the spare parts and batteries are very hard to get hold of. What I then spoke to is various companies, one of which offers a completely different approach, and rather than our defib machine, which is probably needing a battery, is most certainly needing new pads and is needing what's called a health check. The cost of all of those three things, we are probably looking at in excess of £500. One thing I've looked into, I'm involved in another council which went down a different route, and what they looked at is leasing one. And what a lease would actually do is, and I'll get onto the finances shortly, is to lease the machine. And what that part of the lease is you obviously, for an amount of money, they would, one, guarantee it works, two, they would give it a health check every year, they would provide any spare battery should a battery fail, or any spare pads. If it was ever used, they would provide spare spare pieces of equipment were actually used any emergency, and should it ever fail in regard to suddenly not work, they would replace it. That is, and there are a few, but the company that I've looked at, they lease the defibrillator machine at £1 a day, and what this allows then is, whilst it isn't a cheap option, and before I get onto a recommendation or not, it is certainly not a cheap option, but it gives a sense of confidence that should a family or a person need a defibrillator machine to help the person in need, it works, and we don't have to then budget for batteries, which are nearly £300, pads, which can be as much as £130, and any health check. That is what, no, the council can't make a decision on this because it hasn't been itemised in the agenda. And this, I have spoken to the chair about this just to see the actual interest, and it will be on next month's agenda, is to consider, rather than spending so much money on a defibrillator machine which is in excess of 4 years old, as we looked at the date on the actual machine, is to consider a leasing option. This company also then buys back the current machine that you have, the organisation has. I will be providing more detail to councillors in the next few weeks, and whilst over a 5-year contract it is probably more expensive, it does give the moral confidence that when you need a defibrillator, it's there to work. And that is all of them.
So can I go back on one of the items that was raised then about the email policy, please? My email has been classified as consent because...
If I can answer, this actually is not an agenda item.
It's down as an update.
It's just an update from the clerk.
And the thing is, within that update...
Do you understand what not safe means?
I understand that. I don't think you understand that what unsafe means.
Chair, this isn't. It was updates from the clerk. It's not.
I'm sorry, but you are blocking my emails for no good reason.
I will speak probably. This is not an IT matter; it's a law matter. All right. As far as the parish council is concerned, we have to follow various laws. An email address is classed as unsafe if it cannot be monitored, closed, suspended by the parish council.
The clerk has the ability to do that without doing what
That
he's
is
done.
the way it works.
I'm sorry, but what is being said is wrong. What is being said is wrong. You haven't.
Councillor Gale, we've finished with that one now.
But you haven't given me the right reasons for why you have blocked my email account.
Item 14.
I'm sorry, but you haven't given me the reasons why you're blocking all of my emails. You have write something as unsafe for no reason?
Councillor
Can I
Gale.
say that the recovery email address
Councillor Gale,
is not
the
a
chair
reason
has
for
asked
making
for.
somebody's
Councillor Gale,
email
you are out of
unsafe?
order.
You are out of order for not
Chair, I would.
communicating
We
with
can
me.
call for motion.
This
No,
council
can we move on?
has stonewalled me on emails. You are not
Item 14.
communicating with me. You
Financial
are
update
giving.
from the clerk.
Thank you.
You are
I'm
not
going to
giving
go
me
on to
the
the financial.
democratic right for being a
Thank you.
councillor for what I've been here for.
Obviously, the financial that we went through.
Clerk, are you running this parish council?
I am. And
I
you're
think
pleased
the
with
clerk
that.
is running it because he keeps talking and he won't stop. I would like to explain why my email.
I think this is a discussion for later on. However,
I have asked for a discussion over the last 2 months. And you have not come back to me once.
Yes, I am.
Move on.
Okay.
Carry on, please.
Thank you. Financial update. In regards to that, we, as continued what the update is, following Council Marshal's lead, we are being as transparent and as open as we possibly can.
Please carry on.
Thank you. And we are trying to make sure that, and as myself, as the RFO, which is the responsible finance officer in regard to that, we will always give assurances on the transparency and following what the chair of the finance committee wants in regard to that. I would encourage all the community to review the financial reports that are published. A member of the community mentioned it earlier. I would encourage everybody, it is there to look on. I would expect questions to be asked if you wish. Because of that, there is transparency, there is nothing to hide in regard to that. There are 2 elements of the budget that I'd like to raise to the council that I think needs bringing and needs complete minuting. One is the grass cutting contracts. The previous administration budgeted, and the previous RFO budgeted an amount of 2,480, which was wholly insufficient for the actual grass cutting contract, which was nearly £1,200 more than they actually budgeted for. This created an insufficient budget in regard to that. We have agreed with the contractor that it can be frozen. So whilst we are paying more than was actually budgeted for, it is certainly something that we have to work with over the next year. I also would like to say that in the budget agreed by the previous administration and the RFO, there was no budget for HMRC contribution or obligations, and no budget for pension contributions either. So what that made is in regard to that, these are statutory and contractual payments that this council have to make, and if they don't, they are guilty of criminality, certainly in regard to HMRC. So we've had to include those as an extra part into it, which has made an already budget that was, when I would like to say, it was a deficit position at the start of the year. We are, even despite those 2 things, we are hoping for a small margin in regard to a surplus position. This is due to the diligence of the Finance Committee and the councillors in regards to that. I would like to conclude, the financial position of the council is looking solid. There are a lot of pressures on the finances, and through the close management of the Finance Committee and all the councillors, especially Councillor Marshall over my shoulder, who asks me about everything that we spend, and she most certainly should. She asks me everything.
And I tell him no.
Yeah, and we should make sure that every penny of your money is spent as carefully as it should do. And that is why, and that is how this council operates, that we don't use money for issues that we should not use for, and we should be asked, why are you spending this? Because we should have the answer for. And that is the financial update as your RFI. I would like, can we have a motion to accept this, please? Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Is there any objections, councillors? Councillor Gale, are you objecting, abstaining? All right.
What are we actually, what is the motion?
The motion is to accept my financial update. We have a proposal, we have a seconder, we have people voted.
I haven't had time to read the bank reconciliations,
Okay.
because I only got
Are you
today.
voting for
So
or
I will
against?
abstain.
You are abstaining, sir. So 4, 1 abstain. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, next one that's quite important as all. This is the item 15, budget and precept recommendations for 24-25. Please, yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Oh, sorry, apologies.
No, it's fine. Can I ask a question?
Sorry,
Chair?
this is the
Okay.
Chair.
Just to do with the financial transparency, this reminded me when I saw something on Facebook tonight about the painting outside the village hall, and I saw something a while ago about the person returned to complete the work, but in your transparency financial records there's no mention of payment, so has he not been paid for the work?
Look easy to do, yeah.
I'm sorry, Councillor Marshall, I do apologise.
Yeah, she's the one
This
who
is
can
something at the moment that's under review. The contract was agreed back in, I can't remember the month off the top of my head, was it last 2022? Yes. April 22. And it was assigned to a particular person to do the work on the windows. Up until February of this year, in fact probably later than that, that work still hadn't been completed. But unfortunately that person raised an invoice and then paid themselves for the work on the windows. So unfortunately this is something we're dealing with, and I can't go into detail, but we're now in a situation where somebody has been able to pay themselves for work that is not complete, and we're having to take legal advice on that at the moment. I can't particularly go into any more detail than that. I think that's been blatant enough. But yes, we are dealing with it, and it's part and parcel of an investigation that's ongoing.
Okay.
Chair,
It just
with your-
reminded me tonight when I saw it on
Yes,
Facebook.
Mm.
we are dealing with
Chair,
it.
with your permission, I would like to say that that thing in regard to people in effect paying themselves could not happen now.
That's why we've secured second signatories on bank accounts. Nothing can go through without anyone's approval.
Just
It's
for-
part and parcel of that.
just to anybody that is not aware, the way that the bank account for the parish council now works is that as the RFO, I can input payments, and I'm the only person that can input payments, but I can't approve any payments whatsoever. There needs 2 members of the financial committee that have to approve, and if those 2 don't approve, or those 2 out of the 3 don't approve, payment can't be made, but they can't input. And so thus it allows a double control. They can't input but can approve, I can't approve but I can input. There is a provision that the chair, should I fall under a bus, that he can actually input if need be. So there is an approach to make sure that we're not put in a position we were in a few months ago or 3 months ago where this council couldn't pay anybody, so that can never happen again. In regard to budget, I'll get with your permission, Chair. Precept. This is something I would imagine close to most of the community members' heart. What I would say is this agenda point is not for an approval of the precept or the budget. This is primarily to start the discussion for the agreement, and it will happen next month. I've started to work out what the budget for next year, which is 24-25, would look like, to make sure what financial position we will be in, and also what the impact on the precept to be able to pay for that would be in. Of course, a precept just for, thank you, Chair, a precept for people that, and I appreciate most people probably will, but a precept is part of your council tax demand, and this is what the parish council is allowed to ask East Lindsey District Council, and that is a demand that we can make in order to run the parish council. It is part of your community tax that East Lindsey District Council actually operates, so it's not separate to it, it is part of. So in regard to that, I have started to look at the budget for next year, or the proposed budget for next year, and again, from the finance committees and Council Marshall, we're looking at what can we afford, what do we have to afford, and in regard to which are the decisions that the council is going to have to make in the current economic climate, especially with a lot of people struggling in regard to their income. So from an accountant's point of view, a qualified accountant, I am always keen to make sure we have a balanced budget. The budget from the last administration was actually a deficit budget in year, which I personally, and this is my personal opinion, don't agree with. I would say it should be a balanced budget, and the old saying is put your cloth accordingly. I think is very applicable in regard to this. I am going to make a recommendation to the council that if they could look to see if the precept can be frozen for next year. This is only a recommendation by myself, and this is not a formal decision by the actual council. But hopefully, from very careful financial management, scrutinising all expenditure, and that includes any funds that are used either by myself or any staff members of the parish council, and anything that we use are not just carefully scrutinised, but also is it value for money. So in regard to that, I have sent round to councillors my proposals, and I am sure over the next few weeks I will have various questions from councillors, including the finance team, to ask about my actual recommendation. But it was to start the discussion, because the sooner you talk about it, the sooner you can make a decision. I'm going to ask that the council make a decision in December, and then it is formally agreed that we can make East Lindsey aware in January or end of December in regard to that. So again, it is not a decision that needs any vote. It is simply to reassure the community through my responsibilities as the RFO that we are looking at the budget very carefully, but it will be a balanced budget. There will be specific reserves in the account that follow National Association of Local Council's recommendation, but we will not spend money that we don't have, and that is what I would like to say. So there is no decision to be made, Chair. It is pure and simple an update, and then a formal decision will be made at the next month's meeting, which I believe is on the 4th of December.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, and apologies, Chair. The one thing that I would like to state, and just on my notes, the precept from 22-23 to 23-24, the last administration increased by 65%. I would recommend to this council that they will not be increasing it by 65% again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, item 16, general expenditure for approval. All agree that the following payments are accepted.
Yes, it's just. It's only gas.
Yeah.
Sorry, only electric. Yeah. Apologies, Councillor Starr. We'll make it a one.
Can I ask why the clerk claimed expenses for the soup thing? I thought that was all included.
I'm sorry. Second-hand voice.
Yeah.
That second-hand voice. That was my. I handed in the receipt.
I got you. Right, understand. Thank you.
So, in regard to, Chair, with your permission, in regard to the things that were on the agenda for payment that were unusual, that weren't normal, Councillor Gales already mentioned one. We paid for 2 wreaths, which were presented yesterday. I'm trying to think of the days, and that payment will go to the Royal British Legion. The Chubb Fire, you'll notice there are fire extinguishers throughout the building, and they have to be checked every year. We replace some parts, and we have a new one in the meeting room because we didn't have one. As Mel has pointed out, it's not for gas and electric, SSE Energy, it is only electric. But I do agree that that is something that the Finance Committee, through Councillor Marshall, will be looking at. The AP services, we've had several problems, issues with taps in our toilets in the village hall just across, and that was to replace a lot of taps that weren't working. There we have gone for a more straightforward tap rather than a fancy push button, so to make sure that we weren't having running water. And the final one is the Ernica council training, and I believe that was part of the chair's training that we went to. Chair.
Very, very good.
All the rest are withheld due to confidentiality, but certainly the councillors with a safe email address have to be made aware of that.
Can I just ask, will it be, as it was previously done, that the clerk's overtime, or the hours will be noted for future? Is that?
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
So on future
Yeah.
agendas, that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Can I have
Sorry, just before I
apologies.
can I just thank everybody who came along to the memorial service yesterday. It was really very appreciated. Thank you very much. Propose, yeah, I propose.
Seconder, can I have a vote, please, councillors? Unanimous. Thank you very much. They will be put through our bank account, and our finance committee members will be approving them. Hopefully within a stage.
Item 17, planning applications and results. I'd like to hand this over to Councillor Snell.
Right, we had a planning application number 1330293 Moor Lodge Station Road, an extension to an existing dwelling. We've looked at this application and we're recommending to the parish council that we support the application. It's just a standard.
Yeah.
swearing off.
I looked at the.
And I also point out that the application had 061-014-223 Welsh Rectory in Grangebury. That planning application has been approved, and there's one recommendation that they grow the laurel trees, bushes taller, so that the solar panels can't be seen from the church.
Oh, right.
Motion to accept.
Yes, thank you very much.
Actually, the chair of the planning the planning committee. Apologies, Councillor Berman. Can we have a motion to accept?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Proposer. Can I have a seconder, please, councillors? Yeah. Thank you. And a vote. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll make sure that the planning team from East Lindsey are aware of support.
Item 18, playground safety report. Please, yeah.
This was, of course, the report was at the previous council meeting. We had a full safety inspection by a playground specialist. There was no urgent recommendations in regards to the playground safety. There was various medium level and some very low level. Our village hall manager has undertaken quite a lot of work in regard to that, to the actual work. And only today he was recommending various rubber items of swings, I believe, which I will look at. But we will then get hold of a special company, as I mentioned earlier in the update. We hope that this will be undertaken in the next month or two to make sure that comes spring, when people go back onto it. But certainly there is no piece of equipment currently that can't be used. It's just looking at a belt and braces approach in regards to use. So there's nothing that out of the commission. There is everything that can be used. It's just we need to make sure it's safe for the long term as well.
Thank you very much. Item 19, telephone connection coverage from the parish council. We had some input there from
We have.
Mr. Internet.
Thank you, Chair. Again, we are looking at it, and I would, if that's been put, I will be asking for more details if it has certainly to do with internet. Because whilst I was aware that they did provide it, I wasn't aware they provided it for free. So that is certainly something that I'll be asking about, to be honest. As mentioned, this is not only a telephone for people booking the hall, it is also for an emergency contact should the local village, and not just North Orsby, but the surrounding villages as well. And hopefully at next meeting, I'll be making a formal recommendation of how we go about this. I thought I was going to make one, but now that internet might be free, I don't wish to make that recommendation yet until I've spoken to that.
Do we have to wait for the next meeting for that? Because if it's free,
Okay.
it's free.
Yeah.
So,
Very good.
if we do, we have to wait for
No.
the next meeting.
As there is no, if it is free and there is no cost to the council, we can go ahead and actually installing it. So there is, as long as there is no liability to the council.
Is there any other criteria to this other than the fact that it's just a landline? So is there a reason that they might not be able to provide it?
No, that's fine.
No, then
I will speak to internet.
I say if it's free, we have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I say so? Because that's dependent on electricity, so if it's a power cut, we're looking at a backup as well. So be a pay-as-you-go.
So-
See, we keep getting power cuts on the high street, and we thought that we'd be alright with our mobile phone, but within 10 minutes of the electricity going off, we lose our mobile signal up there as well. So I don't know whether we need to also look into what mobile packages and what happens, because I think if the mast, I'm assuming if the mast is within the area that's gone down, then actually we're not doing anything beneficial else. I think it's
Okay.
It's actually part and parcel of a larger picture as well, which is an emergency response procedure, which we haven't got, which we did talk about last time I was on the council. But it's just so that the parish council can respond to any national or local emergencies. Basically, inform you what's happening, precautions you can take, what we can provide. But that is quite a big job, so it will be.
Chair, would you like me to pass this to the finance committee to have a look at?
If you would please, yeah, and make a time with this.
Sorry, Chair.
Oh, sorry.
That has been started. There is an action plan and it's coordinating with the resident centre as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Have we got a document form like that, or?
That'd be brilliant. So just to confirm, you're happy for it to go to the finance committee?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But yeah,
That makes sense.
Councillor Howard, could you email me that? Thank you.
Item 20, HR Facilities Committee Terms of Reference. We got this back to the last one, and there was some changes made.
There was one item that was asked to be put in clearly, and it has done it. It was very good.
Yeah, very good point.
It was to do with making sure that the play park was managed to a safe manner, and that has now been added as part of the CMRs for the HR facilities.
It looks like items 2.3 and 2.5 are replicated.
We'll look at that. You get obviously, just everybody's aware that the idea was that obviously things can fall through gaps unless you've actually got somebody who's given a responsibility for it. So we had to make, we got facilities in the much, we got the village hall, and we got the play park. So basically we wanted to have a system whereby this is looked after by this committee, which is why we did it this way. We had to give it somewhere, and that seemed to be the best way of doing it. So we're looking at obviously
Sorry, apologies. Yeah, which 2 points, Councillor Gomez?
They look very similar. 2.5, the committee will meet. Appointing the chair and the vice chairman, to do with appointing the chair and the vice chairman. It looks like it's replicated. It looks like those 2 points should be kind of like merged.
Which 2 points, Councillor Gomez?
2.3 and 2.5.
That's fine, that can be amended. Okay. Can I have a proposal to accept these? Thank you. With thank you. We're with amendments, I appreciate that. Is there a vote? Thank you, councillors. Thank you. Unanimous. Again, for members of the public community, this will be on the website hopefully within a week, once those small amendments that have been made and formatting has been done. So that will be on.
Item 22, suggestion from the public on actions by the council. Sorry, no, back again. Governance and Policy Committee, I'm ticking the wrong one, sorry. Right. We've lifted a lot of this from the East Lindsey District Council, the way they do it. It's all about governance, which is like an all-encompassing word about how you handle procedures, how you manage policies, etc. It's a way of working everything together, so you've actually got a system for working it. It's difficult to explain, I have to be honest, but it brings together a lot of different items and puts it in a situation where, as a corporate body, we can actually move forward, govern and control things. Not control, that's the wrong word. Monitor and respond to anything that's going wrong. Probably the best, if you actually, I'll describe it, that's it really. It's
to monitor policies as well.
Monitor, if there's any changes to laws or anything else, this will be the way that we actually change our policies and procedures to make sure we adhere to any new laws, any new regulations that come out. Before there was nothing allowed us to do this really, it just sort of drifted along. But now this will give us a focus so we can actually make sure we abide by any new laws, any regulations, monitor what we're doing, and make sure everything is all done correctly.
Is there a motion?
Can I just, on point 4.3, it says members of the public may speak for 5 minutes in accordance with the council's functions. Isn't it 3 minutes and outstanding orders?
No, 5.
It says 3 minutes and outstanding orders.
I don't know. I can certainly refer back to that.
So just one, either one.
Yeah, it's whatever the standing orders are.
Yeah.
Is this committee in place?
No.
No, right, yeah. No, I can't find it.
It's right.
Look at that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Councillor Howard,
I know the,
Councillor Howard, I'll make sure that it's whatever the
I
standing
know for
orders.
the full public meeting, there's the public participation, that is 5 minutes. But
I'll refer back to our standing orders.
yeah.
15 minutes and...
That's fine. I'll just,
Standing orders, so, yeah, sorry, yeah. We'll check, we'll make sure it adheres to the standing orders anyway.
can I, is the proposer to form this committee and then accept the TOR?
Yeah, I think it will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councillors? Unanimous?
Yeah.
Okay. That is to form the committee, councillor, just to give the belt and braces. Do you accept the terms of reference that have been sent? Proposer, thank you.
Yeah.
Unanimous?
Yeah.
Thank you. So they're the TORs. They again will be published on the website for members of the public from our community. Once they've been formatted, and I double check the 3 or 5 minutes that Councillor Howard and Sal have been talking about in regard to that.
Right. So I know I was at the first meeting before. Who's actually the chair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Number 22.
Suggestions from the public on actions by the council. This is basically it's consideration of how to use a suggestion scheme. This was put forward, and 2 items have been put on it already. Somebody's suggesting that we actually have a games afternoon in the village hall of various games, board games and what have you. We thought we could tie this in with anything else that was going on. It would give a warm place during the winter for some of our more stretched people, if you like, people are struggling a bit. It'll be a warm place in the cold weather, give them something to do. As I say, with board games, things like Cluedo, you can maybe start a bridge club or something like that. This is one of the suggestions. Another suggestion was just a jigsaw. People put a few pieces in as they walk through the hall. Basically, get more use out of the hall, get more people in, supply a warm space for people during the winter, and the way of doing it. And we've drawn up somebody's very kindly drawn up a document for us where we can actually make it available. People can write into the document what they're suggesting, how we go about it. We can then look at it and make notes on how we can actually make it happen. If we've got issues that we can't actually meet those requirements. Basically, it's a case of you feeding to us what you would like, and we feeding back to you what we can manage and how we're going to do it. That's it, really. Can we happen to accept one put forward? Yeah.
There is in regard to that, Chairman, I ask you, is this going to be run in the actual village hall?
It was going to be in the hall, yeah,
Thank you.
but there's no reason if anybody can't get into the hall, if they want the messages, we'll put it in for you and it'll be in the book so it gets considered. Okay, I'll propose.
Yep, the proposer, thank you. Second, I think, thank you. Yep, hands up. Thank you, Chair.
23. Christmas working group. Agreement on what can be organised and costs. I'm not quite sure.
We have contacted as many community groups as we can. I've got a few that I need to chase up that I haven't heard from. We currently have approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. we've got 7 confirmed tables of people who would like to have a table within the hall. We have community groups who would just like to have a promotional area where they can post up some of the things. I know Pop In would like an area where they can post up some of their menus and their photographs and bits like that. We're working with the
Food
bank. That's the word. Yes, we're working with the food bank because their monthly collection is on the Saturday before, the day before, and we are going to work with the food bank. We're going to have a table here so people can bring along donations for the food bank. We're going to do a little assembly in the school and talk to the children about what food banks are for and why that, and hopefully bring the community together so that we can do a decent donation. And I'm hoping that councillors will also help donate a few things too. So we are working with lots of groups, and I think we're going to have quite a busy hall. I believe Trees under thanks to events. Am I right in saying that?
And the Tuesday, that's on Thursday.
Brilliant. So thanks to events this year for sorting out that Christmas tree. It's been great to work with them. We got to talk to Mark. I need to get Mark to check light situation and whether we need anything replacing, whether they need pat testing,
I think
all of that sort of thing.
Ian Wright does a lot of communication with Mark as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So that sort of needs doing. We're going to run.
Chairman of events probably would be able to.
Oh, is the chairman at
Yeah.
events at the back?
No.
No.
Claire.
Claire's the chairman. Lights. Did you say it was that?
Mark and Ian do organise the lights, don't they? They normally get everything sorted out.
Yeah, they coordinate it and then.
I'll talk to you about
Got it.
lights.
Yeah.
At some point, I'll catch you that. Just say it's great to be able to work with events. We're going to run a cafe in the village hall, in Cafe Bix. So I think the biggest thing for me would be to agree a budget on what we're going to spend on the cafe, and we need to work out very clearly what everything's going to cost, how much we're going to sell it for, and then if we generate a profit from that, great. But I don't want to be spending money on that. Please.
You don't like spending.
No, I don't. It's my council tax too, isn't it? Yeah, so I think we are, if there's any other suggestions or anyone else who thinks, yeah, I can do that, or, I've got an idea, then please shout, because I'm like being a bit buried at the minute, so if anybody wants to do that, that's great.
Councillor Marshall, can I just double check that is absolutely no cost to
No, I even printed the leaflets on my own printer at home. Thank you. Yeah. That saved us 25 quid, people. Yes, so no, at the moment that's what we're aiming for, to keep it that way. But I just think it's nice that all the little groups can come together, and even Rainbows and Brownies are having a table with their little handmade things on, which I think is lovely. Rainbows and Brownies, yeah. Oh yeah, the stores are free. So if I haven't actually contacted a community group and you're thinking, I'd like a table, they are free, we're not charging for them. It's so that, the point is that community groups can sell things or raise money. They might do, I think someone was going to do one of those name cards, so that you can raise money for your village group. There's still room, if anybody at the minute knows a community group that I haven't managed to get hold of. I am waiting for answers from people like the community choir. I haven't heard from them. David Bedlow, is he in here? Mr. Bedlow, I've sent you an email. So if I have missed you, I'm sorry, it's not intentional, but if you feel that that's something and you are a community group, please shout, and I will try my best to get back to you and slot you in. There we go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Right. 24, here we go. Fencing discussion and fire risk assessment. Right, first of all, fire risk assessment, as you know, has been done. We had an interim one, but it is a very large document, and to be honest, I've been snowed under with all sorts of other issues that have been thrown at me, so we haven't progressed it as I hoped, but we will carry on working on it, we will get there. The fencing discussion, we had a gentleman come in to give us a quote. He came into the hall through the normal entrance, and we took him out through the double doors there, and immediately started talking about, we didn't even tell him what we needed, he told us what he needed, which tied in with what our health and safety risk assessment and fire risk assessment was. I'll be honest, a lot of it went through my head, because he can't start quoting the height, the railings have got to be, this is between them.
No, it's checked over.
Yeah, it just. Basically, that there are two options we were looking at. One was simple railings, which meet the requirements of safeguarding, which was effectively uprights, well, basically look the same as the Wesleyan Chapel, the ones around there. Same colour, painted the same way. He suggested having what he called a knuckle, I think he called it, on each upright, so it didn't look like bars, it made it look like a feature rather than anything else. The other one was getting it done like across the road on the Memorial Garden, which looks lovely. We limited to that bit there, which is the one that we're required to do for safety reasons. We ignored the other bits because that's just, no way we could afford to get the whole lot done. And we have got two quotes, which
yes,
Mr. Baxter will now give us.
of course. I took a note of what our contractor. I contacted various contractors. Some said come back to me in April. Some didn't get back to me at all because they were snowed under. This contractor, by coincidence, had actually done the Memorial Garden Memorial Garden fencing, so knew exactly what the actual work was actually needed. This, in regards to the two quotes we gave, one was for the standard, as the chair has said, with a slight bit of knuckle, I think it was called, to break the appearance. And the second quote we gave was to match the Memorial Garden fencing across the road. The standard fencing that he quoted, and this is for basically from the bus stop and to the edge of the building, give or take, which then met the risk assessment that had been undertaken. That quote was, not including that, was £4,028. For the memorial style garden, the memorial style fencing, apologies, with the intricacies, the quote there, due to the sheer amount of work that we needed, was £12,659 plus that. Now, to make the council aware that we received grant of just over £8,700 in regards to that, but that had to include some notice board work as well. And thus, if the council do decide to go for the railings, and they do decide to go for the fencing to match the memorial garden, that would have to be paid out of council funds, possibly to a point of between £6,000 to £7,000, where if they went with the standard railings, if they chose railings and they went without, that would be covered by the grant that we have received, and there would be money left over then to look at the notice boarding, both that we currently have, and to go in the fencing as well. Other contractors just didn't get back to me at all, unfortunately.
So those are the two options. One third option, which is we have the money back.
Yes, of course.
That's the only options we've got. Something that did occur to me is with the standard railings, if you like, I suppose there is the option there of fancying it up at a later date if money becomes available. Sort of suddenly occurred to me, something like, you get the outlines of the Tommies, whatever, for Remembrance Day, you see them on the heart pages, you can make something like that on the railings. But that's all further down the line. Basically, we need to know what we're going to do. That's the two issues. We've got three issues, or three options, I should say. Hand the money back, pay for something that we've got the money to pay for. And I mean, we also have to accept the fact that we might not want this, but we really haven't got any option. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you to sort of give us your thoughts on that to see if we can actually come up with some way that we can reach some sort of agreement.
So the drawing's been done.
We originally told that it was all ready to go, but it took a long while. We had no information, and eventually we got some response from planning department at East Lindsey. Basically, all that had been done is they'd asked them if we needed planning permission, which we do because it's a conservation area.
So there's no outline drawings been
There's
done?
nothing been done whatsoever.
That would be a cost as well, wouldn't it? So anything going through planning, I'm sure, assuming unless there's someone in the village who might do it for free, we'd have to pay someone to do those drawings on top of the cost of those fencing. I love the idea of the ornate, but that's quite a lot out of that.
The one thing I would say, Councillor, with Chair's permission is National Lottery have asked me for an update, and I'll need to provide an update within a few weeks, because they are very quickly going to say, we've not used this money, give it back please.
Okay, so there are some thoughts from the...
Do we have a do we know what length of railing we need? Is it running all the way along the wall?
No, it's just from the basically the bus shelter to the first bush, if you like. he said take it a little bit further because otherwise there's going to be a gap there. So effectively, it's just that bit there.
Do we have a rough meterage of that?
Not to have, to be honest.
I did hold the tape for him while he measured it back up.
Would you have any objection if I measured it up and see if I could sort something out?
Not at all.
Right.
The only thing I would say is we need to make a decision fairly soon, otherwise we are going to be forced to give the money back.
Can we defer to next week?
I think we can, but I think that would be the absolute.
So that's the second quote coming in, so at least
Yeah,
it's more balanced.
absolutely.
Is it possible for us to decide whether we're going to use it or not? Because at the minute it sounds like we're leaning towards doing something with that money and using it for the fence. I mean, obviously if that gentleman's got some ideas and can come up with something, that's great. But I think the majority of us have got an opinion on whether we want this fencing or not. Would that help?
We've got their defensive. Sorry.
Is it necessary that we have the fence? Is it a legal commitment? Was it a bright idea which has now been shot through? Or is it something that we must do?
It's the way the claim was put in for the
lottery funding.
Lottery money, yeah. It was linked to making it a safeguarding issue.
Safeguarding
No,
who?
it was originally, there was originally a bid put into the lottery for heritage fencing for the outside of the church, for outside of here that matched the church, and permission or money was given by the lottery to do fencing and notice boards. So we've inherited that
Do they know
money.
how far the church is away from the village hall? The lottery.
I don't
know. Whether it matters or not is immaterial.
Well,
You'll
we
forget.
didn't, unfortunately, we've inherited this. This
Yes.
is not something that we have applied for. We've got to make that decision. Unfortunately, the advice that we've been given, that we followed through with, is we cannot have the same fencing that is at the church, because it is, believe it or not, a safeguarding issue in the fact that it is a barrier between, because safeguarding means that you are preventing harm for any vulnerable person or child. So if you have that fencing, a child can still get through that fencing. And unfortunately, I have witnessed children who have gone over the fence, and the parents have leaned over and grabbed them. Effectively, by putting that fence there, all you're doing is putting a barrier between that parent and child.
Yes.
It doesn't stop.
Yes.
Sorry, Chair, that was
Sorry,
the
yeah.
safeguarding.
The gentleman came along and gave us a quote. He told us all about it. He told us the height you have to have it.
So we know the rules. And that, yeah.
The one thing I would say, with the chair's permission, we have had a risk assessment done, and the risk assessment stated that because that is a fire exit, and you get people leaving in a very big rush.
Only if we have a fire, which we. Yes,
Hopefully we will never have a fire in an
Yes.
emergency.
Yes.
But the fire risk assessment said that we
Yeah.
should have railings along that wall.
If I could give a bit of advice there, the way it's done is that you have a risk assessment. This is
Yes.
across the world, right? You've got a matrix. Now, one of the matrix looks at the likelihood and the outcome of that happening. It's one against the other, that's all it is. Now, the problem is, if you go over that wall on the way out there, no matter, even if it's just a likelihood of hardly ever going to happen, the outcome could be very, very serious. So that will always fail any health and safety risk assessment.
Has the same health and safety risk been mapped against people rushing out and not being able to get out of the way of the fire? Like in Hillsborough, where they kind of like rushed against the barriers?
Yeah, that was my comment. That was one of the things I brought up earlier when I said we are putting a barrier there. So yes, when they come rushing out, they're going to fall over a wall. But when they come rushing out, now they're meeting a barrier. So
No,
that
no,
would be my
it
other question.
doesn't work like that. That's actually called a pinch point. That's what we call a pinch point.
Okay.
The evacuation area is down that way. That is to stop people. If you're going out there and there's people behind you trying to get away from the smoke, you will be pushed over that wall, and that's when people are going to get hurt.
Or you could be crushed against a fence.
Yeah, yeah.
Again,
Or we could go out that door.
Yeah. No, again, it's not. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
I've had years of training in this, and these are all various options. You're looking at the probabilities. All right. That is, and the gentleman who came along and looked at the fence, he's obviously had this before, and there are regulations. Basically, we're looking at the one that applies to a two-story building.
We have this in writing, Billy, don't we? So if we did install it and at a later date there was a problem, we could say, well, actually, that's the advice we've been given.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And the thing is, if we don't do it, and now it's been raised and it's all over the place, if anything happens, and I mean, if somebody falls off there, off that wall, coming out the fire exit, you are looking at an enormous cost to this village, because we live in a litigation world, and they will hammer you for that. And I've worked with HSE, I've been on the receiving end of HSE investigations, and they will not show any mercy. They will go for you. Honestly, you've got no option. I don't want it there. I'll be quite honest about it. I think it spoils the look of the place, but we have no option.
And it's also I've done my research across the village. I've spoken to probably about 60 people. The majority of them didn't like the idea of it at all.
But it doesn't make any odds. We've got to do it.
We've got to make a decision, and that's it.
Someone in the back with his hand up, I can't see.
I think you've made the point there that you have to do it.
Yes,
Therefore, you're down to two options really. One is that you go ahead with the basic design that you've got the money for, unless somebody else can come up with an alternative before the deadline.
Yeah, very good point. You're right.
So
We haven't got
so
to
that
yeah.
we're going to do it.
Yeah.
I think for a small issue like that, you can do the planning yourself in the planning office.
You can quite possibly.
With a small issue like you don't have to pay for all the planning.
I think as we've got the ordnance survey maps, I think you can do.
Yeah.
It's the same as a drop curve, isn't it?
You'd probably best apply for that straight away and order the fencing.
Yeah. The reason we mentioned the Wesleyan Centre ones, which aren't safeguarding ones, but it's the look of them, but that would be acceptable to ELDC planning because it matches the heritage.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. So basically, we're looking at getting a second quote from this gentleman here, Mr. Internet again.
Mr. Goodwin, thank you.
Oh, I prefer that name.
Chair, can I ask him to move this to the floor for final decision with a basis of
if you do that,
a decision has to be made, or the money has to go back?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to,
How can you make a decision without going back to planning then? If it's got to go back to planning, you can't make a decision on the fence without planners agreeing it.
We have to make the decision of whether we're going to do it in the first place.
It's
In
not-
order to put it forward to planning, we can't just put it.
But it's a health and safety thing, so you've got to do it.
And basically,
So you haven't got a choice.
No, but then that, it's
but we've still got to go through the
It's legally.
there's the bureaucracy of it. We've got to do the bureaucracy of
It's
it.
crazy, we know that that's the procedure, that's what we have to do.
But you can't agree to a cheap fence if the council want a real expensive fence.
The council won't say that.
How do you know that? That's what councils do.
Because that's, no, it's not, this.
I think we don't know. We'd have to submit
Yeah.
it to planning and see what's
Yeah.
said and see where we go from there, and then deal with what comes up when it comes up. But I think little steps. At the moment, I think we've made that
So,
basic
yeah, so
decision.
we also have a motion to move it to the.
We don't need any motion. You can ask it
All right.
as chair.
Yeah, okay,
So-
we'll move that to the fourth, and we get the information back, we go from there.
If I could ask Mr. Goodwin, if you If I could ask Mr. Goodwin, if you could email me with anything, and I can happily walk you through outside.
Yeah, fine.
If you do have any opportunity that either a cheaper or same book or anything like that, I'll happily take it to be honest.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin.
I'm not Mr. Internet anymore.
What do you prefer?
Yeah.
What would you like to be called?
Colin.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
They weren't asking me.
Okay, item 25, co-option campaign for local, for local community, sorry. Yeah, please, yeah, we've obviously been checking up on this and we've asked lots of.
Yeah, in regards to there have been there was currently one space on the parish council, and we have had some informal expressions of how people can be co-opted onto the council, and thus would like to make the council aware of how it works, and to give a broad outline of what I would actually recommend. We've checked with ELVC that we can go ahead with a co-option if the council wish, because there is a space and nobody was voted on in the May elections, and we have that in writing. So what I would recommend to the council in regard to co-option, because there is a strong interest, is if they agree a deadline of when people can put their applications in. I've already received one formally of, but when people can put applications in for the council to decide, and then I would recommend an EOM be called to give, if there is multiple people, that these people can then put their application forward and answer any questions, and then to be voted on. If there is multiple candidates, the way it will work is the person with the least votes among the council gets eliminated until you have a majority of councils voting on it. I would recommend a deadline of the 30th of November, which gives people just over 2 weeks to decide. They can either email it or post it to the village hall, either way, or hand deliver it to me when I'm here. I'll collate it, send it out to the councillors, and then ask the chair if he thinks an EOM would be worthwhile in order to decide for co-option.
If possible, we'll see if we get it in with the main meet on the 4th. But
We
we'll see
could.
how we go, yeah.
Can I suggest that we do a proper campaign, like a proper advertising, because I think the people you've had are just people that have perhaps applied, but I think if we advertise it, then other people are aware of it, they have the opinion, they have that choice to or not. And I don't know whether that means that we do it next year, like January.
I think there's a lot going on between now and Christmas.
There is a lot going on.
For everybody, I would suggest that it's I don't know.
But I thought if there was a vacancy on the parish council, you could co-opt somebody at any time. You don't have to
You
wait.
don't have to. What I'm suggesting
Is
is
there a
that,
reason for us not to, is there?
well, yes, there is, because we haven't advertised it, and I think there's probably a few people in the village who might be interested in joining it. And I think we, just to take what we already have, is not really doing it justice. I think if we advertised it, we would have, we might have more people who are interested. And I think it's fair to the village or to the community, especially from Grangesby and Wave, where perhaps we don't get as many applicants, to actually widely advertise it so that everybody knows about it. It would be a shame for us to fill the last post and then to turn around and say, somebody else say, well, I wanted to be on the council and didn't know about it. So I think it's fair.
Just getting that. One of the things is that, well, apart from the fact we're talking about different wards there, so that's.
It does, the wards don't apply to the parish council.
Right, fine, sorry, yeah, I stand corrected. If we could get somebody on at the 4th of December, that would give us somebody else can help with the busy stuff. If that's somebody from the village anyway. What we can do, if we say by the end of November, and we'll see how many applicants we've got, because we don't know what's going on here, who's going to reply, it might not be relevant. If we get that resolved at that time, then we can actually, we don't have to put it to the end of the month. We can have somebody in place on the 4th of December to see how many people we've got. We don't have to make a decision on Monday to decide to do it, do we?
No, I see your point. Yeah. It was just opinion, that's all.
Yeah.
So it's basically the deadline for when people apply into chair. That's what I would ask for a motion.
I would go for the 30th of November personally.
30th of November.
Yeah.
So that is a motion for.
Sorry, can I ask when where we're going to advertise it?
It can be advertised as many places as possible. Notice board, website. I can leaflet out. Yeah, attach it at the end of the minutes. As many places as possible, I would say. There's been a motion to have a deadline for co-option for people to apply 30th of November. Is there a second? Yeah, second. So then we go to a vote. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Councillor Son, you abstaining? You voting against? Abstaining? Against. Okay, that's fine. So 7, 4, 1 against. Okay. I will get that done in the next few days, and I will get it as many places as possible, and then a decision can be made either to make a decision on the 4th of December or any other date that the chair wishes to. Thank you, everybody. Just before I get with your permission, anybody that is a member of the community here, if I would encourage as many people to, if you wish to, are interested to join the parish council. Anybody, including myself or the chair, can happily go through what a parish council entails, what the actual role. It is a voluntary role. It is a very rewarding role as far as I can see. I think it's a hard-working role, but certainly we can provide as much information as possible if people are interested in the actual role itself. And if you are interested, the application form either I can provide to you. It is available on our website, and I would encourage, if you are interested in your local community and you think you have the time to help, I would encourage as many people as possible to apply. But the chair and I, or any councillor, I'm sure will be able to provide information on what it is to be a parish councillor. Thank you, Chair.
Item 26, correspondence. Skipping along a bit, but our standing orders, it's limited to 2 hours this week.
Can I just, sorry, I've got to go, and can I just, it was something that was mentioned earlier about the defibrillator.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify, is it not working?
At the moment, no.
Can that be publicised? Because I would hate somebody in this village to go to it in the assumption that it was going to work, and then find that
There's one of the doctors, isn't there?
With the chair's permission, what we put into the instructions is we don't think it is operational. However, when there was an emergency about 2 weeks ago, the ambulance service said try it anyway, and thankfully they didn't even need to look at it. I have opened it up, it does seem to activate, but the working light doesn't appear as it should. So we can't be sure it's working, so we'd rather err on the side of safety to say
but if that's
it isn't
publicised
working.
and saying, I take somebody to go to it and then find it wasn't working.
Just out of general interest as well, because there's a bit of confusion about it. A defibrillator won't work unless you've actually got a really abnormal heart. A lot of people think your heart stopped, but obviously you know.
Yeah, but if you're in cardiac arrest, then you need it.
Yeah.
And if somebody thinks that's the only one there is, and then they go to it. Yeah. But if they know it's not there, they'll go and seek another alternative.
The correspondence that we've received that are apologies.
What I'll also say with the AED, the pads are a one use them once, you have to buy new every time.
Of course. In regard to correspondence, Chair, we have, I'll go through it, we've received multiple complaints about the leaflet that was distributed on Saturday by Councillor Gale. They objected both that it was on Armistice Day and also that it was at the tabletop sale. We've had a complaint from the previous internal auditor about the standard of his work, and that will be dealt with as per the complaint procedure. We've had a subject access request from a person linked to the former administration of this council, and again that will be dealt with as per GDPR 2018. We've had a freedom of information request from, and that will again be dealt with as per the freedom of information, the Act of 2000. We've had information from the ICO, the Information Commission's Office, that we had a complaint made against us, and they confirmed that it was not upheld, and we've made information to the complainant.
That's not as correct as the item that I've seen.
Okay.
Because the one that you were referring to.
Chair, I'm going through the correspondence that I've received.
What about the correspondence?
We've had information from, thank you, we've had information from the National Association of Local Government about the NJC pay agreement that has recently been agreed, and that will be could go through as per contract. We've had a query about the trees, about an extra neighbour person to the village hall, about work that can be done, and that's been referred on to the tree monitoring officer, tree protection officer at the LDC. And we've also had a letter about the 106 applications that were made by the council, Councillor Howard as well, about information that not all the thing will go through, and again that will be dealt with in regard to that. So that is all the urgent or important correspondence that I can disclose. There might have been others that I can't disclose, but that is the correspondence.
Can I ask from finance that can I request a breakdown of the cost, please, of dealing with the FOIs in particular?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem at all. FOI and subject action request, or just
yes,
the FOI?
No, and that's fine.
Okay.
Chair, please may I ask, have you seen the copy that has come through the ICO regarding the Freedom of Information Act complaint? Have you seen the copy that's gone through to the clerk?
I have been copied on all.
Right, so
The
you will
clerk is
be,
meticulous in copying the chair on all the documents.
so you will be aware that the ICO has asked us to do an investigation?
I am aware of what the ICO states.
Are you aware that the
I am
ICO...
aware of what the ICO states.
Are you aware that the ICO has asked us to do an investigation?
Chair, can we go on to agenda 27, please?
If the investigation isn't done for the ICO, this organisation could be given a big fine, perhaps
Please indicate the next
£10,000.
parish council meeting. All right, at the moment we're looking.
Please can it be monitored that I have a question about the ICO's letter to the clerk?
Chair,
Because I
is there a
believe
proposer for the 4th of December?
4th of December.
Thank you. Is there a second?
That's where you got that from.
I got it from the person who made the complaint.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
so we share confidential
Would I
information.
be able to see? Because obviously you're making this allegation that we.
I'm
are
making
now,
no allegations.
No, but you're,
What
okay,
I'm doing
so
is...
you're implying that we're ignoring something, but if that's going to
That's
have
correct.
financial implications,
That's
would
correct.
you please ask that person if I can see that report, or would
I would
see that
suggest that you go out talking to people like I do, so you
no.
can find
I
out
haven't got time
information.
for that.
If
I
you
haven't
haven't
got
That is
time
neither-
to
it-
playground.
It could be costing
Can we please carry on?
So we've had a proposer and a seconder for the meeting for the 4th of December. Is there a vote, councillors?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Chair, the final one is number 28, and that is to move into a closed session.
Right. Item 28, whether the council will move into a closed session. This is when we go and talk about confidential matters. There might be legal matters or financial matters in there which we're not allowed to make public to the GDPR and all sorts of other stuff.
Can I have a proposal in a second?
So, both moving into...
Thank you. Sorry, councillors, yes? Is that an abstention or an objection?
No, I
has to be
agree.
one or the other.
I agree.
Okay,
It could be one of three options, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Chair.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for your support. It is appreciated. Available
I thought I was going away with it.
Thanks for all still being here.
Sorry?